Good evening, everyone. No guest speaker tonight. This episode's came about from a message a parent sent us, and it's about a letter that went out to the parents involved in a extracurricular activity. So we'll get into that in a little bit. First, I want to talk about some upcoming things that we got going on. Tonight at 6 o'clock, we will have our Zoom meeting. This is our caregiver group. Ms. Kim plans on being here, and she'll be leading that discussion or talk or meeting of parents. So that'll be at 6 o'clock, and I'm going to post in the link to our Zoom meeting real quick so that you can join, since this will not be on Facebook Live. And that will start right about 6 o'clock this evening. Okay, so another big thing that's going on is the schools are starting to gear back up, and this is all new learning area. And no one really ever had a COVID-19 waiver before. So this is very easy, something to become an issue and something that some parents were concerned about and brought to our attention. So what it is I'm going to pull up so I'll make sure I read the title correctly. And the school district here in Orange County sent this out, and they call it a waiver release for communicable diseases, including COVID-19, MRSA, which I believe is supposed to be for MRSA, and all forms of influenza. So we all understand that there's this risk going to happen with the sports and all activities that our kids take in this year if they take part with COVID-19 going on. And the families understood that, and they were okay with that. The concerns that came about out of this letter was the way it was worded and how vague it was. It seemed like it was a blanket statement. Realistically, once you got inside past the first section, it did not really mention much about communicable diseases. It seemed like it was more of a general participation waiver, which, when I got into a little bit of research, it looks like most of this document, outside of the title and the few insert areas, was a copy over from an insurance company participation waiver. And that document was actually designed for a minor participation waiver, and it was designed by the insurance company just to reduce liability for school districts for kids taking part in, well, basically any kind of extracurricular activity, from basketball, baseball, anything. And then it seems like here recently someone's adapted it to go try to make it cover communicable diseases, but when they done that, they removed the title, which is, I think, what really got a lot of the parents upset. So I'm going to pull that up so you're not going to see me, and we're just going to look it over a little bit and talk about it. If you have questions, please feel free to send a message, and I'll try to answer them the best I can. The information that we have gotten from the school district, and I'll openly disclose what our response was when we sent an email yesterday asking about it. The document speaks for itself and was approved by the Board of School Trustees on June 20th. School trustees at its June 20th meeting, and that the superintendent will share our concerns with the school board, which, if I'm available, I plan on being at that meeting. So just a heads up to that school board, you might get to actually see me in person there. All right, so here's the document, and some of you are going to realize the schools a couple years ago was known for being a pretty good school, and still academically it is. Right now there's a lot going on in special education in that school district. The joint services is ending. They're trying to find out what their new way is going to be. They've done a transitional agreement with North Lawrence and the group of schools that is joint services for the school year. So a lot of things are up in the air in this district. And with it, the original content of this document being made by an insurance company, I can understand where the school might not be able to respond back to us really on what the intent of this document is. But I'm hoping that we'll get some answers, a lot more clear answers soon. Okay, so this is the document. And as you see, at the very top of it, it says waiver release for communicable diseases, including COVID-19, right off, first thing on the line, MRSA, and all forms of influenza. This is an assumption of risk, waiver of liability, and indemnification agreement. The real kicker that gets me real soon is coming in this next line. In consideration for being allowed to participate on behalf of the school corporation's name and related events and activities, the undersigned acknowledges, appreciates, and agrees. So when we get into this, you're going to see why I really enunciate that appreciates. Because for me, as someone that's been trying to work and help in advocacy for special education for about 6 years now, my toes really got stepped on in this document. Okay. So participation includes possible exposure to and illness from infectious disease, including but not limited to MRSA, influenza, COVID-19, while particular rules and personal disciplines may reduce this risk. The risk of serious illness and death does exist. This is one that none of the families have actually disputed. They know that this risk is there, that they understand that they need to sign a waiver for that so the schools can say that they told the families. There's no argument on number one. Everyone agrees. That's really what they need to know. Here's where things get a little more interesting, and I know I have learning disabilities, especially in the English side, but to me some things just don't sound right in this next section. I knowingly and freely assume all such risk, both known and unknown. Unknown, I assume my unknown risk. Okay. Even if arises from the negligence of the releasee or others, and assume full responsibility for my participation. I gotta agree to possible negligence as being my responsibility, even though it's not my negligence. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that we're protecting negligence. A great teacher, I want to recommend it. And I want to say, yes, they're doing a great job. If we have a problem with a person we're concerned about being negligent, maybe we really don't need them involved in that program. I know accidents happen. When you look up the definition of negligence, there's some real key points that you might want to watch, because negligence just means that you did not respond the way that a normal person would. You did not respond to that event appropriately. We need to be looking at those events, and if it's something that's endangering our children, we need to make corrective actions. Number three is pretty much going to go with number one pretty well, in terms of that you're willingly agreed to comply with the stated and customary terms and conditions for participating as regards to protection against infectious disease. If, however, I observe an unusual or significantly hazardous during my presence or participation, I will remove myself from the participation and bring such to the attention of the nearest official immediately. Okay, so that makes sense. If something's not right, I'm going to go let someone know. I don't have no problem with that one. That makes sense. Here we go back to some things that we're bringing back in negligence again. Negligence is used in that phrasing 3 times in this document. I, for myself and on behalf of my heirs, assessors, personal representatives, and next of kin, hereby release and hold harmless school corporations group and their school corporation abbreviations, their officials, officers, officials, agents, and or employees, other participants, sponsoring agents, sponsors, advertisers, and if applicable, owners, investors of the premises used to conduct the event. Releasees, with respect to any and all illness, disability, death, or loss, damage to persons or property, whether arises from the negligence of releasees or otherwise, to the fullest extent permitted by law. I'm just worried about the way this is worded, because the negligence, and I want to know what we're holding harmless those groups that are organizing these events, the staffs, even all the way to the level of negligence. This is the way I understand it. If I'm wrong, please put in the comments, let me know. But why are we allowing negligence to be forgiven before events even occur? There's no review of what happened. If a negligent event wasn't truly an accident and an appropriate response, but it was because they didn't know, that'd be different than just right off the bat saying, hey, we're not going to do this. I don't want to do it, and the document releases me from that. That's what I'm concerned about. There's not anywhere in the document that I've been able to find. And I'm going to switch over to the second view for you so you can see more of the document. Because the last line is really where I got scared reading this. Okay. So this next section, I have read this release of liability and assumption of risk agreement fully. Understand it itself, its terms, understand that I have given up substantial rights. I actually had to look this one up. I had never heard this phrase used in any school documents in 6 years. Substantial rights, and these means that these are essential rights that need to be protected. Why would we sign something to give these up at the very beginning of something, even before it starts? Why are we asking people to give up their rights to be allowed to take part in activities at schools that are federally funded, tax-based funded? The schools receive money for each student. And I'm sorry, general education is not the area of advocacy I do normally. But for a special education student, severe disabilities, $9,000. Moderate disability, $4,000 roughly. Speech therapies is the lowest end, and it's a lot less money that the schools receive. But for each of those students with those levels of disabilities in the area that I advocate, they receive those funds. And they also receive general funds on top of that, the student tuition fees for each student in the school. Why are we asking students and families to give up rights to be allowed to participate? Why wasn't there a name on here to say, if you feel like there's negligence occurring, contact this person? Nowhere on this document does it have that. Nowhere on there does it even bring in that this does not release staff from recourses from negligence actions. So, I'm sorry, I'm going to bring it back so you can see me. And if I'm crying, I'm sorry. For me, our biggest thing right now is we need to be protecting the kids. And I was shocked because the superintendent that took over, I had big hopes, and I still do. This man came to meetings, and I was actually happy to see him at IEP meetings. But I'm concerned about this document. I'm concerned about student rights. I'm concerned about the parents' rights. Community inclusion ambassador side, I'm concerned about a child with asthma and getting pushed too hard. I'm concerned about a child with a heart condition, and the coaches just want to go ahead and keep pushing. And I know our coaches, a lot of them are great souls, and they do this with a passion of love. But with a passion of love, we also get caught up in those moments. And so we might think that we can push a little harder and make it through. And we need to be able to make sure that the difference between negligence and an accident are clear. Negligence would be if that child goes down and they tell them to sit to the side instead of calling for an ambulance because they need it, because they're in early heat stroke, heat stroke's late, heat exhaustion. They're on early heat exhaustion. A child with heart condition, they starting to feel bad. They might need to take that break, but someone not staying with them or not getting them the help they need. When I worked EMS down in Louisville, we had a kid that died from heat stroke, and it was found that it was the coach's fault. And I hope that never happens here. But I don't want to give a blanket statement to anyone to feel like that they can put a child at risk. That's my concern. On the side, for the kids that I have met, these kids are amazing. Their families are amazing. I have not had one family that wants to hurt one school. They want to see these schools build up and make a strong program for each child. And they know that if they can meet their child's needs, then they can meet a child that doesn't have that need even more. If we increase the knowledge, increase the partnerships. That is my biggest concern with this document, though, is the reason I love Orange County. It's got a heart. You meet people here, you can tell that they care about the community for the most part. Most people I meet, they want to help somehow make it better. In this document, I'm just scared. And I heard that there's other schools that are using the same template. I've actually possibly found the insurance agency that wrote the original document, and we're talking with them now to see if this was their intent of this document. Took about four hours of internet searches and running down leads to find out who originally wrote the body of the document, and their original intent was for participation in activities, from what I'm understanding. So we're going to talk hopefully over after 4th of July weekend and see, was this the intent, and what are the parents signing when they sign this? I'm really appreciative of them for this. Once we get done, and if I get their permission, I'll tell you who they are. But we need to make sure we protect these kids and these documents, and it's easy. School board members are amazing people, but they're humans too. It's easy for, in a stack of papers coming across their desk for a meeting, it's easy for one piece of paper to slide through. And that's why we need parent advisory committees. That's why we need these groups in these schools that are looking over documents like this that mean something to a child's rights, something to the family's rights, to help advocate for their safety and well-being. That's my concern for this document. I don't believe the superintendents or any of the school administrators meant for it to come on the way that it is to us. But that is just, from receiving it from a family and being asked, take a look at this, I was scared. Anytime that you're asked to give up a right, I am scared. Especially in a public group like a community school. Why are the rights being given up? I thought our goal was to educate our kids. We want to teach them to advocate so that when they get out of school, they can advocate for what their needs are. Those of you that are watching that don't have a child with special needs, the kids with special needs, they're just regular kids. They just have some unique life challenges going on. They're still amazing. They can make beautiful paintings. Their smiles can light up rooms. But we need to teach them that their rights are important and that they need to advocate for them, not give them up to have access. I don't have anyone watching, and I hope that this video made sense. I'm not trying to put down a school corporation, and after I started doing research, it took me about 4 hours to look up where this body of the document came from. I can understand where some school administrators might have received it as a, hey, this is a good document to use. And maybe for the situation they thought it was. I also, in those 4 hours, found a lot of schools that wrote amazing COVID-19 risk releases. One of them was about 3 pages long, but it went through and explained what COVID-19 was. It explained to the family how to watch for the warning signs. And the first page was really about just explaining why they need the release and asking for the family to sign. And then the other 2 pages were to keep at home with a little checklist of symptoms, so that if their child did, they sign a paper knowing what these symptoms were and what to watch for. Okay, so I know I didn't get to talk a lot about special education, and if the YouTube stream or Facebook stream was messed up, I'm sorry. We're getting ready to go. Oh, I was going to include a link to this document. I don't want to bash the school corporation. They're going through a lot right now that have put this out. And I understand that there is a few other schools that might be using a similar document. I found a couple online that are using the exact same document, just different names. But what I'm asking is, please write this with a heart. We're talking about their children. Please include that the staff is going to be responsible, that they're going to try their best. Don't make negligence approved in school, but let them know that accidents, if an accident does happen, we're going to try to make our best to learn from it. We're all human. We all share this world together. Let's try to help each other out. Well, this is Patrick, Community Inclusion Board President. I hope I didn't make anyone feel bad for what's happening or for this document, but I want to make sure that people know, read what you're going to sign, and please ask why you got to give up your rights to be able to take part in education. Thank you, and you all have a safe day.